Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Play Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Show. You're listening to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show on thegamesportshow.com, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or the Scott Nason YouTube channel. You may have also been directed here through our social media pages, either Instagram at The Game Sports Show SSM or on Facebook at The Game Sports Show. Either way, I want to say thank you for joining us tonight here on the January the 3rd, 2019 edition of the Game Sports Show, here live from Northern Superior Brewing Company. We're back here at Northern Superior after a couple weeks off for the holidays and kicking off the 2019 season here, and it's going to be an action-packed show as always. I'm here alongside Dane, Hanchrow, and Justin Hykel. I'm just going to give the guys a few minutes to get settled in before I bring them in and get through the usual introduction portion here of the Game Sports Show. We're here live, as I mentioned, at Northern Superior Brewing Company. If you haven't been to Northern Superior, you have to come on down here and sit in the tap room. It's absolutely fantastic. Great place to come after work or at any time after dinner to come enjoy some delicious beer here that they have. Some select beer. They have 55. They have Northern Superior. They have lots of beers you can choose from and delicious. And they have a great staff here as well at Northern Superior Brewing Company. So don't hesitate to come on down to make Northern Superior a part of your day or night. I want to say thank you to Scott Nason. He's going to be our board operator as always here tonight. And here on tonight's show, we're going to be talking a little bit about local sports at the beginning of the show, and then we're going to have a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the National Hockey League and the World Juniors, and we're also going to get to a little bit of MLB talk before we conclude tonight's show. Now, without further ado, I'm going to bring in the fellows. The guy to my left, Justin. The guy to my right, Dane. Going to slide over Dane first. Dane, my roommates, my pal, panel member of the Game Sports Show, Red Lake firefighter. Forest fire.
Yeah,
Sorry, let's get that right. How you doing, sir?
I'm all right. 10 pounds heavier after the holidays, and I'll be making more pierogies tomorrow for Ukrainian Christmas because, that obviously falls in January and not December like the rest of the Christmases around the world. But the beginning of the wait will continue for a short more period of time, and then to the gym after.
Dane actually has a membership at the George Leach with yours truly. I'd like to try to convince the guy to my left to come to Leach. We can have maybe a basketball game there, a little one-on-one action, or maybe some touch football, or a little something. I don't know, just make a little something up. Dane, I try to give you an intro in terms of the forest fire. I always give him a nice introduction, talk about his hat. The guy to my left, wearing a gray hat, great smile, great beard, wearing a blue sweater, probably in support of the Indianapolis Colts, who got into the playoffs and played this weekend. He was here on the Game Sports Show last night from Sports Center Bar and Grill. He's here tonight. He is frequently on Thursdays. The one and only Justin Hykel. Justin, sir, how you doing?
Not bad. Shoveled my driveway before I came. Bad decision. It's still snowing, and my back feels like a 33-year-old back. So here we are.
Great thing about not having a driveway, eh, Dave?
Yeah, Dane and I don't have the experience of having to do a driveway due to having our apartments. It's pretty fantastic, I will say. Dane, Justin, we got lots to talk about here today, so I'm going to jump right into it. As I mentioned, I'm going to talk about local sports in the terms of just getting the schedules out here. We're just getting back from the Christmas break. The Thunderbirds are going to get back in action. The Sioux Eagles are going to get back in action. Lake State had some good results earlier in the holidays. The Sioux Greyhounds got back to action just last weekend. So just here, I'm just going to go through some recap there in terms of scores, also into some upcoming schedules. We're going to save the full recap of local sports for our Sunday edition, as yours truly and Brad Kochmillian and potentially Justin and or Dane and guests will be at IceBreakers on Sunday. That'll be January the 6th. We'll be there. Time to be determined, but we are aiming to be there for around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock around that area at IceBreakers Sports Bar above at the John Rhodes Community Center. And so for here tonight, as I mentioned, going to get to talking about the schedules locally. And I'm going to start off here with the Sioux College Cougars. Sioux College Cougars hockey team had their last games on Saturday, December the 15th. They've been off since due to exams and through the Christmas holidays. They are back in action January the 11th, which will be next weekend, Friday, where they visit Schoolcraft, University of Miami, Ohio, and then on Saturday, they are at Oakland on the 12th, where they're also at University of Miami, Ohio as well. And then Sunday the 13th, they play against Central Michigan at the University of Miami, Ohio. The times to be determined on there for all three games, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can visit SiouxCollegeCougars.ca website for the hockey team to get that updated schedule when released. The Sioux College Cougars do return home to Sault Ste. Marie on the 25th and 26th of January as they play against Schoolcraft there. Now transitioning into the NOJHL, we're going to jump on over to the cross-border Sioux Eagles as they get back underway this weekend. They play Friday at the Polar at 7:30 p.m. against the Blind River Beavers, Saturday against the Wayside Balfour Canadians, and that will wrap up their two games this weekend. They do play two games next weekend as well, but we'll get into that on Sunday. For the Sioux Thunderbirds, the Sioux Thunderbirds are in action twice this weekend as well. They are on the road for both those games. They are Friday, January the 4th, which is tomorrow. They play against Elliott Lake in Elliott Lake at 7:30. Sunday, January the 6th, the Sioux Thunderbirds play against the Wayside Balfour Canadians there. Now, jumping back to across the river, talk about Lake Superior State University Lakers. They played on Sunday, the 30th of December, in Detroit against Michigan State again for the 54th Annual Great Lakes Invitational, and they won in overtime against Michigan State that first game. Then the second game where they played against Michigan Tech, they won 6-3 to win that tournament in Detroit. So definitely congratulations to Lake Superior State University Lakers on those two wins on the 30th and 31st against Michigan State and Michigan Tech. The Lake Superior State University Lakers are also in action this weekend. They play tomorrow, which is Friday, January the 4th, against Alaska, and that will have an 11 p.m. start time here. If you want to go with our time zones, they are on the road at Alaska for Friday, and they're also in Alaska on Saturday the 5th as well, another 11 p.m. start time there. Lake Superior State University Lakers hockey team do return home, though, next weekend. That's Friday the 11th and 12th against Alabama Huntsville, and they'll be at 7 o'clock at the Taffy Able across the river. Jumping over back to our side now with the OHL for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. The Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds are in action, and they did return to action actually on December the 20th against Saginaw is where they opened back after the Christmas break, where they actually dropped the decision 4-2. Then they played Saturday at home against the Sudbury Wolves, and they were victorious in a 5-2 win there. They are in action tonight, actually against Sarnia in Sarnia. It's currently in the first period. It's 2-1. Sarnia leading the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. This weekend, the Hounds do play two more games. They play Friday, that is January the 4th, tomorrow in London. Big matchup against London there. London nicely lead the conference there. Then on Sunday, they play against Flint. That's Sunday, January the 6th at 2 o'clock. So tomorrow is 7:30 in London, and then Sunday will be at 2 o'clock in Flint. Now, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds do return home next week. That is Wednesday at 7:07 against Sarnia. They also have a couple games next weekend as well at home. So the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds are definitely keeping busy with a lot of games and a lot of action here locally if you want to talk about hockey. Lots of, for sure, that you can keep up on in terms of going to games, or if you're across the river, if you want to keep up with the Thunderbirds, if you want to keep up with the Hounds, or anything of such Lake State, just make sure you log into on their website or any potential feeds that they'll be having for those games online. And best of luck to all of our local surrounding teams in the Algoma and the Upper Peninsula region and all leagues that we talk about here in the NOJHL, talking about the OHL and also NCAA as well. So, fellas, I wanted to say before that we go to our break and get around the little census here, I want to say something quick about the Hounds in London this weekend. London has seemed to have regained its form in being that superior team in the Ontario Hockey League. The Hounds being on the road, Justin, you have to admit that is a big test against London being on the road, and especially in a weekend that's going to be pretty tiresome for the Hounds having 3 games in the fortnight.
I think it's probably their first big test of the new year. I think it gives you a good look, see what the team's made of going down the stretch, and help them prepare going into the stretch, going into the playoffs. I mean, we're in January now. We're 8-9 weeks away from things starting to get real here.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think it's going to be a good one. I mean, it's a tough stretch. It was 3 and 4, three games in 4 days. But
you're playing Sarnia and London in those games on the road.
Flint's the Sunday one.
And then Flint's Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, Saturday night in London.
Yeah,
that's a goodie.
Yeah,
I think
you got to follow that game.
Yeah,
you got to follow that game.
And Don Cherry maybe should get there, check it out, watch the fellas.
I guess that should be one of the topics that we might be discussing. A little spoiler, Dane. I'll let you chime in on something before we go to break, and chime in on the Hounds' important weekend here. 3 out of 4 nights, London on one of those games. Mentally, how can the Hounds be prepared for that game against London?
Well, unfortunately, with the loss of Canada last night, our superstars might be returning to the lineup a little bit earlier than expected, so I think that should definitely give them a boost. I'm not sure if they'll make it for the London game, but I think, you know what the goal is with a tough road trip like that is you want to at least pull in 2 wins out of the 3. I mean, Flint should be a gimme, but Flint has a couple wins this season, so
one of them against the Hounds.
One of them against the Hounds, so obviously, yeah, you got to go in there and be mentally prepared. But yeah, the big one's London. I think it's a great way to start the new year if you can beat the top team in your conference. And London and the Sioux have always been pretty big rivals, even though not playing in the same division. Yeah. Obviously, if you can win against London, I think, and Flint, and maybe just lose one against Sarnia, I think you can still be pretty happy going home. But all 3 would be nice.
Definitely be successful if they can win all 3. And I want to give the Thunderbirds a little extra shout out here. You can follow them on Hockey TV when they play against the Elliott Lake Wildcats. Just ensure to want to get the link there, so ensure that you follow along with NOJHL hockey, the OHL hockey, and everything as I mentioned, because it's a busy weekend locally as we kick off the 2019 season in style here with the local hockey presence. So fellas, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we have a lot to discuss here in terms of the National Hockey League, the World Juniors. We have to talk about Don Cherry a little bit. We also have to talk about the Dallas Stars CEO calling those players, something that happened while we were gone. The Leafs also had the Next Generation game today, and an unfortunate 4-3 loss to the Minnesota Wild. Michael Hutchinson made 30 saves out of 34 shots. Definitely the defense was in question again today with the Toronto Maple Leafs, was what the reaction was for it. But Marner got a quick goal 7 seconds in. It was definitely an entertaining game, especially for the kids. So we're definitely talking a lot of Leafs. Nylander gets his first goal. But a lot of topics that we have to discuss. So we're going to hear from our sponsors, and we'll come back. Myself and the boys will get you all that news for the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Don't go anywhere.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Pulling Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and special edition home to the game, Silver Creek Golf Course, located on 104 Bellow Lake Road, Garden River, Ontario. And also shout out thank you to Silver Creek GM Jamie Henderson. Silver Creek Golf Course has many specials to offer for 18 holes, 9 holes, and even Twilight Deal specials. It does not matter what your level of golf game is, it is a must to enjoy the scenic course, memorable experiences that Silver Golf Course offers. Silver Creek also offers a Thursday wing night for you to enjoy food after a stellar time on the course. You can book your tee time by phone or online at golfsilvercreek.com. Silver Creek Golf Course, where all are welcome to play.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sports Center Bar and Grill. Sports Center Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sports Center rated top sports bar for the 2nd year in a row. At Sports Center, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sports Center Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
Hi, this is Paul Maurice from the Winnipeg Jets, and you're listening to the Game Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show, the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. You're listening to the game on thegamesportshow.com, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or the Scott Neeson YouTube channel. I'm here alongside Justin Hykel and Dane Hanchrow for the second part of this January the 3rd, 2019 edition, live from Northern Superior Brewing Company. Justin and I are the only ones enjoying beers currently, as Dane is on a cleanse. As I say that on radio, I told him I'd throw him under the bus, and there it is. Right on radio, give it a shout out. Dane, before we jump into our topics, can you explain why you're doing this cleanse?
Well, I think after like the 10 pounds of weight I gained over the holidays, gotta shed some pounds before the fire season, and just trying to be all around healthy.
Took the typical answer like hockey players do there. Dump a chase, 4 lines grinded. One of those kind of answers there. I think he'll be having a beer, I think, by the 13th of January. There you go, but we're going to start a pool here. If anyone wants to comment below, when's the day that Dane has his first beer and gets off this cleanse? Comment below. I'm going to go January the 13th. And that's me being nice to you. That's me being nice to you. Now, boys, we'll jump in and we'll talk about the World Juniors first before we jump into talk about National Hockey League updates and lots to talk about this World Junior reaction because it does tie to our Don Cherry discussion. So, just to say quickly, Don Cherry, if you don't remember from last Saturday, said that, first off, how Canada players were showboating after the 14-0 win over Denmark, and how the hockey gods are going to curse them, and how Morgan Frost was the video that they were showing, how he stuck out his hand to his ear to the crowd, and then also laid the comment about Sault Ste. Marie saying that what do they teach those people in the Sioux? I don't know if everyone recalls from last year, the hot dog statement, and saying how we were hot dogs and how the hockey gods were going to bite us and how we weren't going to make it. What, to be honest, we didn't win the OHL championship, so did they bite us? Maybe. Did Canada win yesterday against Finland? No, they didn't. They lost in the quarters, so I'm not going to say that I believe in God or this isn't a religious kind of show, but I'm going to tell you right now that Don Cherry hasn't really been wrong with his comments, but he hasn't been right by the way he's been saying them, especially towards Sault Ste. Marie, as he was pretty gutty in terms of his words against the Sioux again in his antics. And Hyke, I'm going to go over to you because I know I was at Jerry's wedding on Saturday and did a miraculous speech, by the way. Dane was present for it. I read it to you yesterday at Sports Center. So I was unable to hear Don Cherry's comments until Sunday. Can you give some feedback about what he said and how it made you feel in general?
I mean, it was really just more of an off-the-cuff jab. I was more so, I don't even want to say I was offended by it. It was just something, it was one of those jabs that I'd throw in, like I was doing to you all day yesterday about the Steelers. Not many people are going to take it to heart except people within, the borders of Sault Ste. Marie or Siouites around the globe. But it was just it's his jabs, when the Hounds were in the playoffs last year, and then tossing this one out. I don't know. It just seems like an unnecessary slight. Maybe he's got something against the Sioux. I don't know, but it was more unnecessary than anything else. And everyone knows that all was going to the wall for Don Cherry for most of his comments in the past, but he's getting to the point where maybe he has some good insight, but you've also been not, I don't know, he's in the game, but he's not in the game. He's a little out of touch with things at times. I don't think he really understands how, 17, 18-year-old kids are playing the game right now. I don't think he understands how the coaches have to coach those teams. I don't really want to segue out of it, but there's an interesting read. John Tortorella this year learning how, talking about how he had to change his coaching style if he wanted to survive in the NHL, to learn how to adapt to the new younger players and
relax.
Yeah, well, and it just seems like Cherry's not. He's not a fan of hockey's like the last gentlemanly sport, I guess. Where he sees players show up in suits every day. You don't see hockey players blowing off fans like you do in other sports, and so I firmly believe that he just doesn't think teams should be running up a score. You should be having some respect for your opponent in that sense, and that's what he believes, and he's going to preach that until the end. I think in a tournament where goals for, and goals against count in a tiebreaker, you should probably score as many goals as you possibly can. 14-0 is a little rough, but I remember there were games, it was a long time ago, Peter Forsberg was playing for Sweden, and I think they were playing Japan, and they ran up the score 20-0. And in the third, Forsberg was still out there on his broken-ass knees and ankles, just lighting up Japan.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's something to be said for not quitting. Because
you're still a professional stature. These kids want to play in the National Hockey League. When you have scouts in the stands, you don't want them to make a little chintzy play to look lazy because then it looks like they're getting the foot off the gas.
I'm
You
a
can't do
firm-
that in the National. You have professional scouts in the stands watching you, and they draft you, or you have to get drafted. Especially Morgan Frost, who had a great tournament, by the way, and who also isn't from Sault Ste. Marie. So I know he plays for the Hounds. Okay, but these kids that did the celebrations aren't actually from the Sioux. I'd like to really point that out. They play here for our coincidence sake, but at the end of the day, it's still hockey in a competitive nature.
Maybe they've been spending too much time at the Dave McCaig Showboating Academy.
I used to be a showboat. I was. Remember, I had a patented celebration, for God's sakes. Dane, your comments about Don Cherry. You probably as well, the Rock'em Sock'ems. The guy's almost 84 years old. I know producer Ghost will correct me if I'm wrong with that, but he's been doing this a long time. And you know what? He's not. Is he? I don't want to say he's getting old and senile. That's not what I'm saying here. But you know what? There comes a time where and I'm surprised that he's there, but he's there still for a reason because people love him. And if people didn't love his reactions or how he was, he wouldn't be there anymore. And him and Ron are still a great duo up there, and he can say what he wants to him because you know what? I'm not a fan of running up the score either. I am not, but I don't think Canada meant to do that. Canada not mean to run up the score. They played competitive hockey and from the start till the end, and that's probably what Tim Hunter preached.
Yeah, a couple things on that. I mean, he calls us out one more time now. It's going to be personal after this. Let's be honest here. I do agree with the hot dogging last year in the playoffs. I mean, that series was pretty wrapped up. But the World Juniors is different. I mean, Morgan Frost wasn't hot dogging when the score was 14-0. I think he got the 5th or 6th goal of the game by the time.
Third.
When he got his hat
Oh,
goal,
hat-trick.
it doesn't. Regardless, I mean, it's his first World Junior game. You're playing in Canada. The crowd's pumped up. It's the first game. The kid can't be excited about scoring his first hat trick in junior hockey. I mean, and again, this is a tournament where goals for and goals against count. Russia has the ability to smash the Danes 14-0 as well. And you know what? The Danes got a year off to practice because they're relegated to make sure they don't get their asses kicked 14-0 next time. This is the biggest stage in junior hockey, and if you're not good enough to be there, then don't accept the invite. I mean, I didn't see the Canadian players hot dogging when it was, after the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 14th
They just
goal.
kept playing hockey.
They just kept playing hockey. I mean, I don't agree with what he had to say about the World Junior. I mean, I think those two did deserve it a little bit last year. I watching a couple games, they were toying with some teams from time to time, and I don't think they were taking it as serious as they should have. But no, I think the World Junior is different, and I think just the stage you're on, you're anywhere from 16 to 20 years old. It's hard not to get excited about scoring a hat trick in Canada in front of your
National television.
your nation on national television.
His parents were there too.
Yeah,
his
and
mom was awesome,
his
too.
parents were there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody likes to make the other teams look as bad as they are. But like I said, Kazakhstan beat the Danes. Obviously, the Danes didn't come the same team. I know they've never been over successful in the World Juniors before, but that was a bad hockey team. They didn't score a goal the whole tournament until they played the Kazakhstan. So, I mean, I don't think they're ashamed that they lost 14-0 to Canada. They're not the first team that's lost 14-0 to Canada.
And they're not going to be the last.
Yeah, and they're not going to be the
And
last
you think
team.
roles reversed? If the Danes have the opportunity, or any other country that has a chance to be in that tournament has the opportunity to run 14 goals on Canada, do you think they're going to let up?
No.
Not a chance.
No.
Not one chance.
No.
That's...
See, now, though, fellas, which moving on from it, Don Cherry, I still got respect. I met the man twice. I'll never forget. And I'll never forget how he was to me. He stopped here at the Old Memorial Gardens. When I ran, my dad picked me up from school, and he saw Don walk in. And my dad ran in with me, and I yelled, Don Cherry. He actually stopped. When I was running over to him, he went down and said, "Come give me a hug, little man." That's what he told me. And I gave him a big hug, I remember, and then I took a picture with him. 4 weeks later, I went to Toronto, and I went into the Hockey Night Canada room. Didn't meet Ron McLean, but Don Cherry wasn't there because he recognized me when he walked out of the thing. He says, "You're Dave. I remember you. Come in. I'm going to give you a tour." So he brought me in a tour. He took a picture with me and my dad and my mom. My mom actually kissed him on the cheek. So I hope you don't mind. My mom loved him. So you know what? I'm a fan of Don Cherry. And I know people from the Sioux are going to be like, what the hell? But you know what? What he said is harsh, but he doesn't mean it because he's a harsh guy. He's old school when it comes to that hockey point, and he isn't wrong, but he is wrong about his comments about the Sioux in general. 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. It's not a suit thing. We're a kind hockey town.
I think when you're sitting in that chair for as long as he has, you can get a little opinionated, and I mean, he's not going to be there that much longer, so I feel like he's just saying what's on his brain, and you'll see Ron look at him sometimes when he opens his mouth, and it's like, oh my goodness, like, so, and I think the rest of Canada is kind of seeing, I think age has a little bit to do with it. I think he's going out. It was like the European with the visors. I think that's kind of when Don Cherry started getting like a little bit, with Europeans fighting with visors, and that's when he started, saying things that I don't think he should be saying on Hockey Night in Canada. I think everybody has those opinions, but some opinions you should just keep to yourself. And I don't think, calling out the city of Sault Ste. Marie, it's not like, we raised Morgan Frost. It's not like he's a terrible person or anything.
No.
And like I completely disagree with his comments about the World Juniors, but I do agree a little bit with the playoffs last year in the Sioux, and I think it was a little bit much having, with all the goals. I think Auckland was already a 5-2 game.
See, now, we have a point here with Don Cherry that, he can say what he wants. And Morgan Frost, hopefully we can get him on the show sometime this year. We have some arrangements with Jerry Linscomb and Sue Graham to get an interview with himself and Barrett Hayton. So I'd like to get that experience to him, and maybe even if I'm allowed to ask him about what he felt what Don Cherry said. But I don't know if that will be allowed. But either way, definitely was a great experience that Morgan and Barrett had, and Morgan did a fantastic job, in my opinion, especially getting a hat-trick there. Fellas, we're going to continue with this World Junior talk here. We have a couple minutes with this topic before we go to our next one. They lost against Finland. They're up 1-0 with just under a minute left. The most unlucky tying goal, or lucky, whatever way you want to look at it, if you're Finns or if you're Canada. And DiPietro was rock solid all night. That one squeaked by him. Then in overtime, a broken stick and a missed open net go back the other way. And a knuckle puck wrist shot is what defeats Vancouver draft pick DiPietro. Heartbreaking. Dane, you and I were watching that before we went to the Sports Center show yesterday. And I'm going to go to you first and Justin, and then we're quickly before we move on to the next topic. How do you feel about that loss? Do you think we deserve to lose that hockey game?
I wouldn't say we deserve to lose it or we deserve to win it. I think it was a really good hockey game as far as about 2-1 hockey games go. I know some people are big fans of lots of goals, but kind of like those nice tight games with lots of scoring chances where the goalies are standing on their head, and that's exactly the game that we got last night. Two very unfortunate breaks for Canada with that goal. Like, oh my God, I can't. Like, the tying goal was ridiculous that went in. Noah Dobson's broken stick. I mean, I think it's a good thing for hockey in a sense. Like, it's kind of nice seeing some of these teams kind of catch up to Canada in the States. Like, obviously we always want Canada to win, but it was becoming ridiculous for a while when we won those 6 in a row. And we haven't been winning every year since then. But, I mean, Switzerland has a chance to go to the finals, and Switzerland has a chance to win the World Juniors this year.
100%.
And you know what? I'm not heartbroken that Canada lost. It sucks, but, like, I think Canadians have been pretty spoiled with all the gold that we've been getting in the World Juniors and the Olympics and the World Championships and all that. So, I mean, it was just a good, hard-fought battle between two really good hockey nations, and the Finns came out on top. And I think I told you during the game when we were up 1-0, I was like, I don't have a good feeling about this. I could very much see us losing this game, and inevitably that's what ended up happening. And I feel bad for the kids, and it was nice that the fans gave DiPietro a little tribute, knowing that he's going to be a Vancouver Canuck soon. And yeah, I think the whole nation's behind Canada. Can't win every year, and go Switzerland. I guess that's who I'm cheering for.
Definitely. Speaking of Finns, quick, we'll go to you, Justin, the goaltender for Finland. Luukkonen was his classy move with DiPietro went past and actually gave him a hug. I have nothing for respect for Finns, to be honest with you, when it comes to hockey. Your reaction about the game, Justin?
I kind of want to echo Dane's sentiment, where it's nice to see other teams make it on. Like, I wasn't as interested in the tournament as I've been in previous years, but I am now. Because I want to see how this is going to shake out. And, like, that Finnish team is good. That American team is pretty good. That Swiss team is fun to watch. So, I mean, the Russians are the Russians.
Well, and watch out Sweden, because Finland might become the superpower of the Scandinavian countries.
Well,
with the young guys they got in the NHL right now.
Like, it looked like a team of Leo Komarovs out there. Like, all of them. Like, it was fascinating to watch that team last night. Who made the stick that broke?
Oh, Noah Dobson.
No. But what was the make of the stick?
Probably CCM or Bauer.
So I mean, I can go through my investments later and make sure that I'm not
invested in them. Yeah, because it might be friggin' stocks out of there.
But I mean, they owe everyone in Canada a free stick. Nice composite one.
A
little pricey.
Couple two,
but the one thing I wanted to say that really, really bothered me in the last 24 hours is not us losing, because that's sports. That's what makes sports fun to watch, is that shit happens sometimes. It's not scripted. Yeah. So sometimes stuff happens that you don't like. And you got to learn to live with it.
Well, and if you're an Oilers and Leafs fan, you're pretty used to losing, so you're not as heartbroken when you see it happen as much. So.
I don't know what it feels like anymore.
What drove
I do.
What drove me insane in the last 24 hours is that you got videos popping up all over TSN of these kids apologizing, saying to the country, I'm sorry. You're in an under 20 tournament. You went out there, you played, you had fun, we had fun watching. We'll see you next year, maybe. Otherwise, we'll see you in some other league that you're playing in, because we watch too much hockey. They shouldn't be having to apologize to everyone. And the lunatics on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, commenting, telling these kids they should kill themselves. I hope you get AIDS. All this kind of nonsense, piss off. Come on, they're kids. They were out there, given the opportunity, roles reversed, you would have went out there and tried your damnedest too. Yeah. So
and the people that are throwing out the comments on social media, what are you doing with your life right now? Are you a potential NHL superstar that's going to be making millions of dollars?
If you were, you're not anymore.
And the only thing I'd like to add to this World Junior thing with Canada and Finland, I don't like how Morgan Frost was benched in overtime. I mean, it sounds like Hunter was scared to lose the game and not playing to win the game.
So hold on.
But I mean, he's the leading scorer for Canada right now, and you're not going to put him out there for one shift.
Or in the shootout.
Or in the shootout. I'm not big on Comtois taking the shootout. I don't think.
I was going to ask that. I know we're kind of going overtime with this topic a bit, but did you agree with Hunter putting Comtois in? And if not, would you have actually thought about putting Bouchard in? Would that have not?
I mean, I don't think Canada's full of pure goal scorers on this team. I think a lot of the players are all-around kind of players where they can make the pass and score. So he almost looked confused. It took him forever to pick a player, and I feel like the shootout is inevitable if no one scores in overtime. So you have to have guys lined up for the shootout. You would think you'd have a guy right away that would come to mind to take that.
I think Baird or Morgan would be up, or even Suzuki would have been thought of.
I think Suzuki, Morgan, Frost, look at guys that have good hands and a good quick release. I think Morgan Frost showed that the guy has a pretty good shot on him. Captain Canada, I feel like you can't go wrong with picking your captain to score. But Comtois is more of a power forward, and I know he's had success early on in the NHL. It was a big moment. He didn't score. I mean, you look like a genius if he did score, but it's just, there's a couple things coaching-wise in that final game that I might have done differently, but I'm not a professional hockey coach, so what do I know?
Final thoughts, Justin, before we move on?
I mean, everyone's mad about it right now. Canada lost. Tim and Sid said it perfectly. Well, Sid and DJ, I think, today said it perfectly. You're going to forget about it by Saturday.
No.
And that's just it. So
now we have in the 70s, Finns against Swiss, Russia against States.
Yeah, 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock tomorrow. Get off work and enjoy.
Yeah, some good Friday night hockey.
See Switzerland or Finland beat
Russia
or the States.
Swiss. The Game Sports Show is standing behind the Swiss. I'm sorry, States. I know we have a lot of United States listeners.
I got nothing against Finland.
But nothing against the States. I would like to see the States and Switzerland in the finals. It'd be awesome if the Swiss
I just want to keep watching the Swiss coaches' interviews.
Love it.
Guys are beauty.
Yes. Now, fellas, a few moments here, okay? We're going to take a couple sips on the beer. Dane's going to sip on his air. Justin and I are going to sip on the beer.
Good air.
Quick break. When we come back, we're talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Some update there. We're talking more NHL news. We have about 21 minutes left in the show before we wrap up. We're going to hear from our sponsors. Listen to the Game Sports Show. Dave McCaig alongside Justin Hykel and Dane Hanchrow live from Northern Superior Brewing Company, the Twin Sault's only local regional national sports show. Don't go anywhere.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Pulling Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsioux.as.me-. The Salon, making the Sioux beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Superior Pro Shop. The Superior Pro Shop, located inside the Community First Credit Union Superior Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Superior Pro Shop, for over 40 years, meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today.
Hi, this is Joe Bowen, and you're listening to the Game Sports Show from Sault Ste. Marie.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly, David McCaig, alongside Justin Hykel, Dane, Hanchrow, the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. You're listening to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.com or through our Podbean page or YouTube channel. Fellas, moving on to part 3 of the show. We're going to continue our hockey discussion here, and we're going to jump into the National Hockey League. We're going to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs right off the hop here. Excuse me, the next generation game they had today against the Minnesota Wild, 4-3 loss. Michael Hutchinson's in net for Toronto, makes 30 saves on 34 shots. Mitch Marner essentially makes history, scoring 7 seconds into the hockey game and a 2-goal night. Nylander throws the monkey off his shoulders into the crowd, getting his first goal there. Pretty nice goal there, too, from behind the net. Looked pretty sharp. Probably because he shaved his head, if anyone realized, but he finally cut his hair and he scored. Maybe he quit his modeling career and his commercial career officially to focus on hockey finally. But definitely finally gets his first goal. Just all-around reaction. And listen to the recap of the game. Third period performance, as you mentioned, Justin, the defense did better than we did for the first 2 periods. But a lot of questionable when I look up to the armchair GMs and just some experts. The Leafs defense, that is still kind of an issue that kind of at large there. And a lot of people are hoping that Freddie gets healed quickly. I'm saying hopefully he does get healed quickly, but at the right pace. We don't want to rush him back. We need him for a nice long playoff run. Justin, tough loss for the Leafs today against Minnesota. They still remain second in their division. Still one of the top teams in the National Hockey League. They have Vancouver this Saturday. Where could the Leafs have been different to win that hockey game today, you think?
To me, it looked like, I just got the highlights, the first and second, but it looked like the defense played a lot different in front of Hutchinson than they do Sparks or Anderson. And I mean, it was similar to the way they played in front of Sparks at the beginning of the season. Until you settle in and learn, the goalie's quirks, defense's quirks, it's really tough to assess. I watched the entire third, and from what I saw in the third, it looked like, they only allowed, I think, 4 shots.
Yeah.
So it's tough to say. The game probably was squirrely early on. I mean, Marner coming out, scoring 7 seconds in.
Yeah.
And I don't think his other goal was too far after that.
No.
Nylander's one was nifty. I don't know. It's definitely an adjustment period.
Now, if Nylander could keep this going hot with the offense that they have going, this team could be just absolutely lethal, even more on offense. But I'm going to stick to it. I know, Dane, you and I talk about this in the apartment. We like to call it the apartment.
That's what it is.
On Hockey Feed, they had a news outlet saying how the Leafs, Kyle Dubas has checked into Alex Pietrangelo officially. So the rumors have been also how the Leafs have looked at Jared Spurgeon, which is pretty interesting to say. But Alex Pietrangelo looks like the target because of his cap-friendly contract. You have Duncan Keith, who they can look at as well. You mentioned that. I think Dane mentioned that as well. We talked about that before even the holidays. So the one trade that came to fascinate me was Janssen and a first, and there was something else going the other way to St. Louis, and I think one of the rumors was Sandin. I thought that'd be kind of a hefty deal. I think that's a little too much going one way, but I could look at if they don't move Janssen, that it would maybe be Sandin in the first, potentially going that way might make sense, and then maybe another contract that they have to get off, like maybe if you want to look at it, you could maybe look at a Janssen, or maybe you could look at just another contract off the books if you want to remove one. Pietrangelo has $6.5 million left on his contract before he is done next year, so I think that's a nice cap-friendly contract. You might be removing Jake Gardiner, and you can still afford Pietrangelo this year to make that run. The next year you adjust what you have to do. You sign a couple depth D when you replace the Gardner, then you actually got some good defensive D-men, and you have Riley and Pietrangelo as your offensive outputs there. And if Zaitsev finally wakes up, he might be able to finally be that two-way defenseman on that second pairing. At the end of the day, the Leafs need to improve this D-core. I've said it for the last year and a half, and they have to do it that makes sense. And it doesn't really bother me if they moved one of Rasmus Sandin or Timothy Lejeune. I'd rather it be Sandin, though. Sorry, Hounds fans. Sorry, Sault Ste. Marie people, and sorry to other Leaf fans if you disagree. I like what Timothy brings to the table more than Rasmus does. I'm a big fan of Timothy Lejeune. The guy was a top 5 rated before he got hurt in the Swedish Elite League. So you got to look at some of his videos. The guy's a stud. So Leafs need defense. And Dane? Obvious, you're an Oilers fan. The Oilers just traded one of their offensive guys to get Alex Petrovic. You know what it's like to have an area.
No, we traded Drake Kajula for Manning, actually.
For Manning, yeah, okay.
Yeah, which is even more.
You need depth in one area as an Oilers fan for offense. You have decent D, especially when they're healthy. With Clefbaum, with Nurse, if Sakura was there. Benning is back there as well. You got some good D on that team with the Oilers. I'm also a fan of Jones. You got some good guys on that D-court. Your offense, after Draisaitl, McDavid, and I guess you could say Nugent Hopkins, you're looking at not really the most deepest. You're looking at Milan Lucic, Kyle Brodziak, and who's that other one that rounds up that fourth line with Brodziak? Cassian, yeah. Fierce fourth line, but when they're getting about 13 minutes a game. The point is that they're bringing up the Oilers there. I'm saying about the Leafs right now. They need to improve that D-core if they want to make any noise. Not even just against Boston in the first round, which I guarantee you Boston catches Buffalo, to be honest with you. If Toronto plays Tampa in the second round, they need another defenseman if they want to even get past the second round of that playoffs.
Well, the Leafs are like a live and die with Freddie right now. I mean, if you look at today's game, I mean, I think the shots were 41 to 37 or something like that. And I think, the difference maker is if Freddie's in that. I think Freddie's used to taking plus 30 shots every night while the team just goes out there and plays offense all night. I mean, yeah, you guys definitely have the firepower to offensively win games, just outscore the next team that you're playing against. But at the end of the day, playoff hockey's a lot different. It's a lot tighter out on the ice there, and those goal opportunities aren't quite always there, and it's more physical. And you know what? Like they say, does the Leafs have enough sandpaper going into the playoffs? I mean, they're a bunch of small guys that can get pushed off the puck, and I know Austin Matthews is a big boy, but Austin Matthews gets banged up pretty easily. So I mean, it should be interesting. I mean, the last team I want to play in the first round is Boston if I'm Toronto, because we all know how that song and dance plays out. I mean, a team like Tampa, I think it's like the same kind of thing. I think it would be a high offensive kind of series with, at the same time with really good goaltending. I mean, I think Jared Spurgeon would be a good defenseman, but he's not an overly defensive defenseman. He's more of a two-way guy.
He's almost like a Jake Gardner of sorts.
What are you looking at? Like, what does Toronto want? Do you want a guy that can play, 27 minutes a night that's just going to be a pure shutdown guy? Like an Adam Larson would be a good guy. No, Pietrangelo is not a good guy. Pietrangelo is an offensive guy. He doesn't fit in the lineup. He's going to cost too much money. I think Jared Spurgeon would be a guy that you could just, once Gardner's gone next year, could just slide in and replace Gardner, but I still think that leaves you guys a hole defensively. You guys don't have any stud defensive guys, and I think you got to look at the forwards too. I don't think it's just all the defensemen. I mean, the forwards have to play defense too, but you got a bunch of guys that like to score goals, so maybe you don't get the back checking that they should. And I'm not saying guys like Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews and Tavares don't back check, but they don't think defense first, right? No. So inevitably you're going to get more shots on goal when guys are out there to they're paid to score millions of dollars to pay to score goals. So I think your team's going to have an identity, and I think the Toronto Maple Leafs identity is offense and score goals, and then you lean on your goalie to make 35 out of 38 saves a game, and you know what, not let in more than 3 goals, because generally they don't let it. Freddie doesn't let in more than 3 goals. The Toronto Maple Leafs are going to have a W, but if he lets more than that, then they're in trouble. So I don't know what Kyle Dubas is going to do. I think I wouldn't add an overly big piece. I think if you could get nobody's really coming to mind that's available currently, but even just a veteran present like a Seabrook or a Duncan Keith. I mean, I haven't watched a whole lot of Chicago games lately. I know they're struggling. I don't know what their foot speed's like anymore. And playing in a division like that, you got to be quick on your feet, right? So, I mean, Kyle Dubas, I think he'll make the right moves. The boy wonder, he's supposed to be a genius, so I think he'll make it happen for them. I just don't see any big pieces moving out that are on the roster currently. But yeah, someone like a Sandin and. I mean, how many more first-round picks do you need? It's the same thing like Edmonton, and they can't make one for God's sake. None of them pan out. We got Puljujärvi and Yamamoto playing in the AHL back and forth who can't produce, and we got 3 centers that are the only ones that can score on the team. So, I mean, it's not an easy job for Chiarelli or Dubas coming up. I mean, Dubas' job's not on the line, but every team needs at least something, right, at the end of the day. But I don't know what Toronto's going to do. Small piece defenseman. Jared Spurgeon. I like Spurgeon.
Defense, for the love of God, please. Fellas, we got about 10 minutes or so left on the show, so we got some things to jump into here and some discussions. Let's talk about something in the National Hockey League, some updates, something that we missed while we were gone, obviously, that we discussed a lot of. Dallas CEO comes out and calls out the leaders of his team. Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin. Just not going to jump into the quote. Everyone's probably seen the quote. Everyone understands. Pretty much saying how they need to. Let's say it in layman's terms, how they're playing like absolute fucking shit. And it's bullshit and it's horse shit. Basically a bunch of swears. I have not seen that in the world of sports from any owner, not even Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. I know he's been pretty rude.
Not publicly.
Not publicly, exactly. Now, it's kind of funny how this guy is from Dallas. Well, I say that comment, but at the end of the day, Justin, how shocked were you to see this comment laid out from an owner to his star players on the Dallas Stars?
I'm not as shocked as everyone else is. Like, you got to think there's a certain point where players have to be accountable. And in a place like Dallas, where Dallas probably doesn't turn a revenue like places like Toronto or Montreal do. So to lock up, how much money did they guarantee Tyler Seguin? Like, to cut a guy a check for $20 million 2 months ago, and he's not really doing anything for, like, he's playing. Don't get me wrong, Tyler Seguin's not having a bad year. But when you pay someone that much money, you're expecting them to kind of pull a group together. Help that team win games and not just pad the individual stat book. And that's really all you're seeing from Benn and Seguin right now. And from the ownership standpoint, they've got a Winter Classic they have to sell tickets for, and they haven't made the playoffs in 3 years. So you have to do something to keep the fans into it. And that's a pretty classic way to draw attention to everybody. Start swearing at everyone in the news, and you're going to draw some attention to the Dallas Stars again.
Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin were quite respectful in their response to how much they love the city of Dallas and how they play hard each night. But you got to admit, Dane, before I even slide over to you, how Tyler Seguin seems how trouble has followed this kid. He's been criticized in Boston for it. Apparently, it's the same thing in Dallas. Not saying he's a problem. I'm not trying to stir anything there, but it's always seems to follow the wrong people at the wrong time. Now, is the guy wrong in Dallas for saying what he did? No, he's not wrong, but he is wrong for definitely pointing them out in public. But he shouldn't be happy with the way this team's playing. They aren't playing that good. They should be a better team. And they have a lot of young guns. Klingberg and the defenseman, Heiskanen.
Heiskanen. Yeah, the kid's unreal.
Yeah, kid's awesome. They got a lot of good pieces of this team, and whatever it takes to try to get the team going.
Yeah, I think if you look at the Dallas Stars, they're definitely a team that has not been the team that people have thought they were going to be. I think they've definitely underperformed. I think if you look at Seguin and Benn's stats, they're, you know what, the money that they pay those two guys, they should be a point-per-game guy. I know Jamie Benn's well under that. I think he has 31 points in 41 games, which I don't think cuts it as, you know, captain of the Dallas Stars and what you're paid to do. I think Seguin's 36 points in 41 games, which is a little bit under what he's used to. I think this is going to go one way or the other. I mean, this is either going to give Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn a kick in the ass, get going and start. And I mean, Dallas isn't out of it. I think they're still in a wild card spot, if I'm not mistaken, or were in the last couple of days. I don't think I like the way the CEO called them out in public. I think there's a way to go about it. But if you look at the contracts that Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin have, this signed Seguin to an 8-year deal with a no movement clause. So you want to talk about a CEO that just maybe F their team for the future? Because say they don't make the playoffs this year and it just becomes a dumpster fire in Dallas, well, guess what? You're not going to be able to trade Jamie Benn or Seguin because Jamie Benn has a 10-team no-trade clause too. So now you just handicapped yourself with players that you have publicly stated that you don't want on the team, essentially, are not good enough for the money that they're making. And now it's going to be impossible to trade them. So now if they ask for a trade or don't want to play for this idiot, as far as I'm concerned, you're not going to get the value that you might have wanted for, these superstar players. And I don't know, as far as Tyler Seguin goes, I haven't heard much of his off-ice antics in Dallas. I'm sure the guy still likes to have a beer or two from time to time, and I don't know if that's what's affecting them. I think a big thing with Dallas, I think they kind of suffer from the Edmonton Oilers syndrome. They got a couple good guys on defense, but do they really have that much depth, beyond their first line? I mean, yes and no. They got Radulov and Spezza too, so they got a couple guys, but beyond that, there's not a whole lot of guys that come to mind that are big perennial offensive kind of players. So, I mean, I think that guy's an idiot for doing what he did. I think there's a way to go about it, and if you want to talk to them, personally, do it. But that guy hasn't had a word with those two players since the summer, and then he's just going to go out in public and call them out like that, like they're the first superstar struggling on a team, and you need to bring that to the media. So, yeah, I think that guy's an idiot, and I don't know how this is going to play out. They're either going to start going on a tear, or they're going to go the other way to the bottom of the standings.
Fellas, we got a couple more things we're going to get to before we wrap up the show. We got about a handful of minutes or so here. I want to give a little shout out to Boston for that Winter Classic against Chicago. It was a very good hockey game as they played in Notre Dame, where Notre Dame plays. It was definitely a well done Winter Classic. Boston had some sick jerseys, and so did Chicago. I like the Winter Classic. Always have been a fan of that. I want to give a little shout out there. But now we're going to talk about the All-Star game. 2019 All-Star rosters were announced. Austin Matthews, captains one. Nathan McKinnon, captains one. Connor McDavid, captains one. And Sidney Crosby, captains the other one. As Alex Ovechkin will not be at the All-Star game, as he had just pulled out because he wants to give his body rest, which I respect. But we have some last-minute stand-ins that might be there. You got Jeff Skinner comes to mind. You got Morgan Rielly, who's up there. You got Alexander Barkov. You want to go to the Central. You got Taves, Landeskog, Seguin. Speaking of Seguin, Tarasenko, Laine. If you want to move on even to Letang, Backstrom. If you want to move on to the Pacific, you have even Leon Draisaitl, Giordano, Kopitar, Brock Besser, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Some guys that might be last-minute stand-ins. Obviously, my vote's with Morgan Rielly for the Atlantic Division. I feel like he's leading the league in points for defensemen. At the end of the day, I want to just go around quick and get your take before we kind of wrap up our hockey talk, and I conclude with our little baseball update before we conclude the show. Dane, Justin, improvements for the All-Star game picking are needed? you think?
Negative on that one. I mean, there's going to be snubs either way you go. I mean, yeah, Mitch Marner and O'Reilly should be there, or Morgan Riley should be there. But at the end of the day, I think every team needs to have a representative, no matter how bad they are, and that's just how it works. And if you want to change it, then maybe you got to take out the 3-on-3. I think there's still the same amount of players per conference with the 3-on-3 thing, but I think leave it the way it is. I mean, either way, either the league picks it and then the fans aren't involved, which I don't think the fans would like as much. So it's just how it goes.
Justin, final thoughts?
I don't really like it, but I don't like it because Riley and Marner aren't there, and that's the first time in a while that it's a Leaf has deserved to be there. In this era, aside from Austin Matthews.
Tavares being there too.
But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the fans aren't going to go watch it if the fans don't get to have a say in who's going to be there. So, and the whole point of the weekend is about the fans. So, you got to leave it as is. It's a fun weekend. Every city that has it seems to have a blast. So, why change it?
Tavares and Matthews representing Toronto, as Connor McDavid is representing the Edmonton Oilers. So obviously, some guys showing out in the Stars. Crosby obviously being his 4th All-Star game. Going to be exciting either way. Just a big fan of the talent that's there in the 3-on-3. Surprise pick, sort of, for me is Jimmy Howard. But again, it's the All-Star game that was picked by
that's Detroit's
the fans.
representative,
And that's
right? That's
Detroit's
how it works.
representative.
And if you look at the forwards and defense in the Atlantic Division, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room for any of the Detroit Red Wings.
Not a lot. Unless you had Larkin, he would have chosen it. But anyways, does not matter. Fellas, we're going to move on from the hockey part of things quickly. I'm just going to give a little update on the MLB before we wrap up tonight's show. Now, David Robinson signs a contract with the Philadelphia Phillies. The White Sox make a formal offer to Manny Machado. The Red Sox now are back in the running for Greg Kimbrell. And you have Kikuchi, who signed with the Mariners, another Japanese star, coming over to play. He's definitely a big fan of following Ichiro. Obviously, when he was there, you got Bryce Harper, who is still out there waiting to see what's going to happen with him. We got the Dodgers, their front runners there. You got even the Phillies, the Cardinals, the Nationals are still in there. You got Dallas Keuchel, who's still available. There's Manny Grandal, who's still there. You have AJ Pollock. There's guys that are still available that are going to make moves. No, I can't see the Jays making too much moves because they kind of made already a big move by letting Troy Tulowitzki go, and they're still paying him to play. And this guy is paying to be played with the New York Yankees now as Troy Tulowitzki. If he gets healthy and plays a full-ish season somehow, some way, he is going to be a good infielder there for the New York Yankees. He's one of the best talented shortstops to play in the last couple of years in terms of all-around talent and one of the wickedest arms I've seen from shortstop. So if he can get healthy and play from what he can be in 34, it obviously goes down a little bit there. But if he's going to be healthy, the Yankees have made a big addition there, as the Yankees didn't really need to have the help that they did. But they definitely got there. Where do you think these guys are going to sign, like Hykel, or Harper? Where are these guys going to land? Very curious to see. You also have rumors with Corey Kluber, Trevor Bauer, Brian Dozier. A lot of things that are getting moved around in the MLB. Very exciting. I wanted to give my quick 1-minute roundup there with the MLB. And probably by next week when we're here from Northern Superior Brewing Company, we'll have a lot more baseball news. Fellas, I'm going to go around the table and say my goodbyes to you. Definitely was a good show as always. We touched everything that we can within this past hour. I want to say thanks to you, Dane, for coming on by, and I'll see you back at the apartment. And hopefully see you Sunday. If not, we'll be back here next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see you after puck, buddy. Score me a goal tonight.
Dane's talking about the Mayor's Open League as the Game Sports Show takes on Sun Life tonight, and as we're back in hockey tonight for the new year. Justin, back-to-back nights for you. Maybe see you Sunday. If not, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, well, that pretty well hinders on how the Colts play this weekend. So, go Colts.
Special love for the Colts there from Justin. And sure, the NFL playoffs getting started this weekend as well. Lots of sports to watch, Sault Ste. Marie, and listeners, make sure you tune into all the sports, especially locally. I want to say thanks on behalf of the Game Sports Show for making us a part of your night tonight. I want to say thank you to Northern Superior Brewing Company. As always, I want to say thanks to Scott Nason, our board operator, and another thanks to Dane Hanchrow, and also to the one and only Justin Hykel. Myself and Brad Kochmilia hopefully plan to be back at IceBreakers on Sunday around 7 or 8 p.m. Hopefully Justin and or Dane can potentially show up as well, and even some other guests. Make sure you stay tuned with our ticker with that, and make sure you follow us on social media in terms of making sure you keep updated with the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. And until Sunday, listeners, stay McCaig signing off. Keep your stick on the ice, swing your bat, catch your touchdown, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.